They made me clean a wine spill off imported marble while wearing jewelry they thought was fake. They made me pour drinks for the woman my husband was sleeping with. And for 3 long years they laughed behind my back, convinced I was the luckiest nobody alive. What they didn't know, what they never bothered to check, was who I was before I decided to live small, and that assumption ended their world. If you'd walked into the Ashford estate that night, you would have smelled money before you saw it. Old money. The kind that doesn't apologize and doesn't ask questions. Crystal lights overhead a jazz trio pretending not to notice the tension, politicians pretending not to recognize each other. It was supposed to be a golden anniversary celebration for my in-laws, Victor and Eleanor. Ashford, pillars of the shipping industry, donors. Power brokers, the kind of people who shake hands with senators and never wash afterward. For them, it was legacy night. For me, it was just another reminder that I didn't belong. Eleanor made sure of that. She always did. She snapped her fingers at me like I was part of the decor, told me to stop standing around to carry trays to stay out of sight when important guests arrived. I adjusted my plain black dress and did what I always did. Nodded, smiled, swallowed it. Fighting back never helped. It only entertained them. My husband, Daniel, stood across the room laughing with Claire Monroe, heir to a real estate empire and conveniently very single until recently. He saw me holding the tray. For half a second I thought he might say something. Yeah, that didn't happen. People whispered as I passed. You know how it goes. She married up, she trapped him, she won the lottery. I pushed through the service door and finally let myself breathe. That's when I saw him. Tall, quiet, standing near the back exit like he belonged there, Marcus. The man everyone assumed was just extra security. They didn't know he worked for me. They didn't know he always knew what time it was. And the clock was almost done. 3 years earlier, my grandfather had asked me for something strange. Live normal, he said. No trust fund. No protection unless it's absolutely necessary. 3 years to see who stays when there's nothing to take. I promised him. I meant it. I lived in a studio apartment, drove a beat-up sedan, split grocery coupons with a man who swore he loved me. That night marked exactly 3 years. In the kitchen, Marcus checked his watch and told me everything was ready. Accounts cleared. Transfers queued. All I had to do was say the word. I told him to wait. I needed to give Daniel one last chance to be the man he said he was. He looked at me like I was generous to a fault. He wasn't wrong. Eleanor's assistant dragged me into the study under the excuse of helping with refreshments. There were no refreshments. Just Eleanor, Claire, and Daniel standing there like a bad verdict. Divorce papers hit the floor at my feet. A check followed. $50,000. Eleanor said it like she was granting asylum. She thought she knew my finances. She thought my debts were real. She thought she was being kind. I asked Daniel if this was really what he wanted. He looked at his mother, then at Claire, then back at me like he was choosing between a meal and a memory. He told me I didn't fit, that I should take the money and be grateful. I didn't argue, I just tore the check in half. Then again, that was the moment everything shifted. The air changed. I told them I'd sign the papers, just not there. If they wanted to humiliate me, they could do it in front of everyone. Back in the ballroom, Eleanor announced my exit like a punchline. Daniel stood beside Claire, already wearing the family ring. Everyone waited for me to cry. I didn't. I asked for my own pen. That's when Marcus stepped forward and handed me one. Heavy, black, engraved. A few older guests recognized the crest and suddenly stopped smiling. I signed my real name. Not Ashford. My real one. The doors burst open moments later. The music stopped. Helicopters thundered outside. A man in a tailored suit walked in like he owned gravity itself. Jonathan Hale. The kind of man banks wait for. He walked past Eleanor, past Daniel, straight to me and nodded. When Eleanor called me nobody, he corrected her. Calmly. I wasn't just connected to the trust holding Ashford Shipping's debt. I owned it, which meant I owned their house, their accounts, their future. I called the loans. Default was immediate. Liquidity was gone. The room went silent in that way only money understands. That should have been the end. It wasn't. As I left, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A distorted voice told me my grandfather didn't die of natural causes. Told me I didn't check the basement. The victory tasted flat. I told Marcus to turn the car around. He didn't ask why. He never does. We cut the power before we arrived. The estate looked hollow in the dark. Eleanor was outside dragging luggage she no longer owned. Daniel was drunk on the steps mumbling memories like apologies. I walked past them and went inside. The basement door was open. It had never been open. Behind a hidden wall was a medical room. Clean. White. A bed with restraints. Files everywhere. Photos of me. My entire adult life mapped out like a plan. Project Atlas. Phase 1. Poison my grandfather to force control of his assets. Phase 2. Marry me to keep me compliant. Handler. Daniel. I didn't scream. I went cold. That's when Senator Caldwell stepped out of the shadows with a gun and confirmed everything. He called it strategy. He called my grandfather obsolete. He said my life was supposed to end quietly once the trust unlocked. A robbery. An accident. Clean. Marcus cut the lights. Chaos followed. Shots. Bones. Darkness. I crawled for the ledger while Marcus moved like he didn't need to see. Daniel grabbed my ankle and begged like a child who realized the game was real. The senator found me by sound and pressed the barrel to my shoulder. Then the FBI lit the room up like judgment. Turns out we'd been watching each other. The senator triggered everything they needed the moment he touched the biometric lock. Files were thorough. Payments, orders, confessions. Immunity doesn't cover murder. Handcuffs sound final when they close on a man who thought he was untouchable. By morning, the Ashfords were done. The house was seized. The senator arrested. Daniel cried. Eleanor screamed. None of it moved me. Jonathan asked what I wanted done with the estate. I told him to turn it into a public library. Power doesn't have to burn to be absolute. As we drove away, Marcus asked where to. Anywhere in the world. I told him to take me to the diner where I used to work. I wanted a cheeseburger. Then I wanted to buy the place and turn it into something better for women who needed a restart. Yeah, that happened. People think power is loud. It isn't. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it waits. And sometimes it turns the lights off. Never mistake silence for weakness. And never underestimate the person you force to their knees. They might just be tying their shoes. So tell me this. Was I right or did I go too far? Would you have taken the check? Would you have walked away? Drop your take in the comments. I read them all. And if you've ever been underestimated, you're not alone.